Notation of councillors in attendance?
Yes.
Thank you. Have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Brownlow, second by Councillor Downey. Any questions on the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, in favor, motion carried. Do we have any declaration of conflicts of interest this evening? Hearing none, we're good. We have no correspondence. New business. We have one topic for new business other than what you people have, I guess, after we discuss this, is road conditions and maintenance. And I guess this kind of landed on the agenda as going over some of the roads this spring. I know there's the 616 from the 105 to the Key Road is quite terrible. The Trip Road from the 105 to the Holyoke Road is bad, and then we still have the one in Birch Corner, 104 between McLean Settlement and 617. And there may be some others that you people travel that I don't go over regularly. Some in your area?
The McLean Settlement is washed out in a terrible mess right now.
Okay. So we'll address that one. Also, I guess well, we don't have roads. I guess what I was thinking is if we could get a letter off of the Minister of DTI and copy deputy and assistant deputy, maybe some of the staff on that, and see if we get it addressed. All we can do for the benefit of the public, residents of Central York, and the safety is to try to push it forward with DTI, because as you know, we don't have roads on our plate, and that's basically all we can do. But I do feel bad for the people that live on some of these roads and travel them every day. It's some of them are terrible. You have any in your area that?
There's a few bumps and humps on the system, but that's pretty normal. Other than that, Trip Settlement typically is not that great up at the top of the hill.
Trip Settlement going from the river up to the 90-degree bend.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be all the Trip Road.
How do you choose what you're going to focus on?
Would you say that the Trip Road from the Sisson to the Holyoke is probably the worst part of the trip, or?
No, I think the worst part of the trip's on the other end down your way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. 105.
Oh, I see, yeah, I was thinking 104, but yeah, I would say that's worse.
My road is looked right after you asked Wendy. The boys are right on the ball, aren't they?
Oh, well, I think there's a few craters there down on your end.
Yeah, there is, but I mean cars, they have looked after it, they went and graded it again and everything, where the Lower Stonebridge Road comes down and it washes into Bard Yard. They did fill that hole in, but.
In all respect, we should just be addressing council.
Sorry.
No offense, I'm sorry, but. Deputy Mayor, do you have any?
I'll just make a comment. So the road ahead plan is published for the next 3 years.
Okay.
And one that you mentioned up on the 616 from Key Road. So I think Apple Lane, which is pretty much all of what you just said, is on for next year,
26.
2026.
Do you know if anything is on for 2025?
Not around here except for the second seal on the 616, second seal on Upper Stone Ridge. Can't think of anything else. That
So
would-
Radian, Birch Corner, the 104, that's not.
It's not on the road ahead plan.
Wow. Councilor Edwards, do you have any?
No, it was done last year.
Okay. But nothing that you know of other than what in your area?
No, because like I said, most of it was done last year.
All the roads in your area?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So, in hearing that, is the plan for DPI, do we send a letter, or
always send them, that's all you can do, see what comes out of it.
So do you mind giving us a rundown of what you know for roads, Deputy Mayor?
Well,
Is that permissible?
yeah, I mean, the road ahead plan, they publish it every year, and it's 3 years out. So they're planning now for 2029, I believe. So really 4 years, because they're in the planning stage now. So, yes, maybe sending a letter outlining, this is what the community would like to see. To see if they would let us have any input. But as you said at the beginning, we don't own any of the assets. That would be, I mean, they go by age of road, traffic counts, like there's a lot of background info that goes into it. Not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't know how much influence that we're gonna have in changing their mind, so to speak. If we wanted a road done now, and it's not on the road ahead, and another road is, I don't know how much influence we'd have in changing that.
No, I can understand that. I guess all we can do is address for safety concerns for the residents. Yes?
What will they do about, washouts and issues that have happened that wasn't expected? Is there room for them to maneuver in areas like that?
Any emergency safety issue, they will address. Utilize the tick line, that's what it's there for. Somebody answers 24/7, 365, and they will evaluate and dispatch accordingly.
Yes.
Is the 2025 road plan listed on any website?
Can be
Just GMB DIP?
gmb.ca under DTI, Department of Transportation.
Thank you.
Okay, and that would go the same, is signage, like, I've had some complaints about speeding in areas, I'm sure. Have you all had complaints of speeding here and there?
Up
Which
through the
is,
104,
pardon?
up through the 104
Yeah,
to Crab.
which is, I mean, yes, the speed signs are up and whatnot. That's kind of beyond DTI, and that goes into the RCMP. So I don't know, how would we address things there if speeding is an issue? Because I think the signs are up where they're supposed to be up, which takes kind of the pressure off DTI and it's on our.
I think like you said, it's an enforcement. So maybe asking the RCMP to do a enforcement day. Came up on my Facebook memories just the other day from 10 years ago, I think it was. They had a speed trap up like Crab Mountain on the weekend and got about 40 to 50 tickets. So it's just the enforcement, and I know when the sergeant was here before, he did mention if there was anything that we wanted to see in that aspect, they'd listen to us and try to accommodate accordingly, but it's entirely in their court.
There was a number to call for people to report non-emergency
Mhm.
crimes, right? So if people in an area have an issue with speeding, if people in that area are calling that line and complaining, then that would draw more attention to that area also. Right?
Yes, because once they hit the top of the hill where Cabot Hill Road is, it's zoom zoom, no matter if it's winter or summer. And like when they go by Mom's old house, you think it was a Trans Canada. I came out of Mom's driveway because it's on a blind knoll, and I've almost got hit now twice. And the last time the guy had to go to the other side of the road.
Did you have a query? Comment? No?
I was thinking, at the time, maybe you could just hear my thoughts. But I was just thinking maybe Central York could somehow create or come up with a campaign for educating drivers.
That'd be like educating about the streams.
In what way?
Yeah. Why I thought of that was that I was listening about voting today and people voting. And there's no civics courses in many schools. And they are trying to come back in schools with different programs. And I don't know if there's any way that we could encourage,
Not in schools.
if we could encourage any group somewhere, local groups, that might take up some sort of campaign. Just a thought.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with
Councillor Harris.
Deputy Mayor Brownlow, that it really is an enforcement issue. It's not a case of ignorance of the speed limits, it's they plan on driving fast, and the only way they're not gonna drive fast is if they face consequences for it. I've been concerned for some time regarding 104 as it's adjacent to Keswick Valley Memorial School, and we have walkers there. There are logging trucks, there are many vehicles that go through there well over the posted 50-kilometer-an-hour speed zone. The only things that I've seen within school zones that help with that, well, there's two things. One is the presence of police. The second one is those radar signs that show what your speed is. I know that seems to be a deterrent for people exceeding the speed limit in school zones. That's only part of the problem. I really don't think education is the issue. I think the only thing that's only gonna bring it down is increased police presence and being unpredictable as to when the police will be around. I mean, it's unpredictable now, but we need them here to do some of that enforcement. I don't know when the last time was I've seen anyone pulled over in our jurisdiction here.
What do you think the reason is for?
I think the reason is the police have a lot of other things that are on their plate. And speeding is a pretty low priority, would be my guess.
Especially if the accidents aren't piling up. If everything goes well, then it's just status quo.
Well, every day there's more crimes, right? Maybe haven't cleared yesterday's yet, the pile gets bigger. So do you deal with that, or do you go out on patrol?
Yeah.
Is there a place for more cameras? For example, I would love to see a camera at the foot of the Keswick Ridge Road by the dam. Because I haven't seen anyone stop at a stop sign there for years,
But
except
then,
myself.
but then again, the camera has to be, somebody has to take action on the camera. And I don't know the proof of those, I don't know.
But-
I know the city uses them.
But if people know there's cameras, that is a preventative measure. If they know there's a camera, because they don't know who's checking. But anyway, that's just another thought.
Okay, but we need to keep in mind, this is all, we don't own the roads, so how much can we push, DTI to, try to fill our needs here?
And if we send a letter, we wanna be really precise on our priority, because if we want action on something, it needs to be really pinpointed on what we want. Cause if we send a letter with a lot of broad things, we probably won't get anything right.
No, it's gotta have some, to the point, precise thing, you're saying, just broad issues.
I think, oh, sorry.
Once again, I'll go back to the reason why people don't speed, why people always stop at stop signs. Now, why is it that certain people do this? I do it. That's one of my major things, is following the rules of the road, because I do a lot of driving. So is there some way, once again, the fire departments have programs, And there are, I think it's up to the, instead of waiting for the RCMP, it's got to go back to the community doing something. Getting the right thoughts in the right heads, along with a lot of other things. Anyway, that's, once again, that's how I get, that's how I drive.
Good idea, but then again, we're tied up with, we don't have jurisdiction of the roads. We can.
You don't
that's
need
it. It's
jurisdiction,
what we're
you
trying to
need
recommend.
to educate the people around you.
I would, yeah,
Yes.
I would venture it's largely not the people around us that are doing the speeding, it's people coming through our community. And well, you can disagree with me if you want, it's fine, but if I'm traveling by my house, I'm not gonna speed, because if my kids are around, I know that, or if I know Jared's kids are around, or whomever, I'm not gonna be doing that, because I have a vested interest in it. If I'm bombing through a community and I don't know anybody, and I have no vested interest in that community, and I think I can speed, why wouldn't I? Especially if the roads are gonna be repaired, and they're even better now. Just go even faster.
Along with that, that's why we have signs. Drive as if children are here, there are signs like that up. There are also signs for schools with the different things. Now, you're not going to get everyone, but there's other way, but it's got to come back to simple things. Like you can't wait for the police. They know when the police are around. People that speed, they either have radar or they know how to avoid it. So I think waiting for something like that, to me, doesn't work.
Isn't the speed limit sign a fairly simple thing?
Not if you don't care about signs, I guess.
Well, if they don't care about that sign, they're not gonna care about other ones. I'm just saying.
There's an in-between, I think, somewhere.
What about if somehow if we could put the driver's concern, like they're speeding at it's a risk to them to speed. And the reason I say that is there's a lot of agriculture in Central York, on a lot of the roads. And because I'm a farmer, I don't want to sound self-centered here, but if there were signs up at different places, heavy agriculture equipment coming on and off the highway, if I'm driving a compact car, I don't want to go underneath some of that. You know, it might cause some concern to slow down. And I'm wondering if we address that in the letter, if we could get some of these signs up where there's a fair agriculture presence. One of the complaints I had was just at the top of the hill of the flats, and that's a large agriculture entrance by that gate. If we had something there, it might deter some of these people, you know, and see if they would slow down.
Just some strategic placement.
Yeah, because it puts the drivers, it lets them know that they're at risk if they're going to speed, and it's in their best interest not to, for their life and their safety. Yes.
And wildlife movement,
Mm-hmm.
agriculture and wildlife, both things unpredictable.
Yeah.
You need to slow down and pay attention for.
So I'm just wondering if we could implement that too, and address that to a point and see if we could get some of that signage. I know there used to be farm signs, especially down at the ferry and up on Keswick Ridge years ago, and I think they're mostly gone now. It was farm equipment and whatnot.
On that same also.
Yes.
So I know there's a lot of signs that are discontinued that DTI no longer entertains or puts up, so I don't know if that would be included in that or not. But even the children at play signs, they don't even go up anymore.
And the hidden driveway signs don't seem to mean much anymore.
No.
I don't know if they still put them up, but just hang on a minute.
I wonder if they still do, truck crossing signs or something like that. You know?
The Valley Forest has them where they cross the main roads, but
I was thinking on the lower Stonebridge Road where it comes onto the upper Stonebridge Road where the gravel trucks come out of there, because some people still do not realize to slow down when they come to the top of the hill to go down, eh? This is on the upper Stonebridge Road. I always slow down, cause I know they're coming out of there, and most of them, if they don't have to stop, they won't.
And in the
Yes.
same vein that you were talking about, it's very interesting because when I was reading over the rural plans, there was a lot about signs. But the other thing is, because of the different demographic that we now have, I so often, or not often, but a few times, I've heard people in the areas complain because they had to follow a tractor. Or they had forgotten the fact that it was a rural area. And they really get upset because of farm equipment, which you should not in this area. But there's so many new people and a different demographic. And we do have one of the ways, we have the Facebook page. There could be some way of perhaps coming up with a campaign of some sort, even if it was bringing up pictures of the old signs that aren't going up anymore. But I think that there is maybe an easy way to use that.
Councillor Downey?
Perhaps in our next newsletter, we could incorporate, a reminder to people that this is a rural area. Spring is coming, planting season's coming up, there'll be lots of activity, slow down. Maybe we could do that.
And that's a good idea, but then I think back to Councillor Anna's comment that, sometimes these people are passing through maybe 1 or 2 trips a year, or they're visiting for the summer, and they don't know the community, and they're just kind of ignorant of what goes on around here.
I think
That's some of the other people that we have to try to get to in that respect also. Councillor Forms, do you have any
Kind of
comments?
something off of what Dustin said with the BTI and their signs, they have a very strict protocol for how they allow signs to be put up, especially safety signs. They've done studies on it. Most of the time they don't, they're ineffective. They're more of a liability thing. It's like we told you, we stay zone. That's what they're there for. But the signs are pretty ineffective. Most drivers ignore them. They don't find much value in a lot of them. So, and they've got very strict rules around what ones are allowed up. So anything that we propose is probably going to hit the, thank you for bringing this up, but we're not going to be putting up any more signs.
Cost prohibitive also.
It's just, there's no point in a lot of them. That's why they've discontinued so many of the children at play signs, mean nothing. Even the school signs, for a little while, they were effective for the flashing signs that pick up your speed, but people realize that there's no red and blue lights behind those, and they're ignored quite a bit as well, same with along the dam. They're pretty ineffective after a while. It's like anything, people get used to it and ignore it. Right or wrong.
One more thing, that's all I'll say. And on what you say, I just thought of it, when you walk out at an intersection, it's a good idea to wave your hand or do something to show movement. And a lot of the new signs in big cities is they have flashing lights and they have all this sort of thing. So with the signs, if it were me, if I had it, I would put a sign up and then take it down and then maybe put it up again. So that not everything doesn't become run-of-the-mill. Make it so that they never know what to expect. That's why I like the camera. You might get 1/10 of the people with the camera that will know enough to slow down because they are afraid. They don't want to pay that money. So then you've got maybe a sign every once in a while that's in a different place or up and down. Things that cause people to notice. And that's how you, if you don't watch at intersections in Fredericton, people will run right over you. And, but one of the things they teach children is when they're crossing any road anywhere is point, pause, and proceed. But now what I do is I just wave my arm, regardless of where I am, because people are in their heads a lot and they are not watching for things. And so, and then sometimes I'll put my foot out and sort of half step out, but we won't go that way.
Councillor Forrest?
Not to kind of put a pin in this subject, but there's entire branches of engineering that people spend years and school studying traffic, and I don't think we're gonna solve any kind of safety concerns around this table unless anybody here happens to be a traffic engineer by trade. I don't know if that's,
No, like you said, I guess before you got here, we don't have control of the roads, and all we can do is try to just ask the minister and his staff to, if they would address some of the poor condition roads and whatnot.
we can always ask, but they have a capital plan that they use to plan out many years of road work, well advanced of us.
That's what we understand.
As far as traffic stuff goes, they've already predetermined most of the province is set up adequately according to the current regulation. They'll entertain community signs and things like that, but if anything for traffic, you're gonna probably get a no. I would put money on it that you'd get a no. They would say it's adequate. I'm not saying it is, I'm saying they would say it's adequate.
Okay. Any other thing to discuss around that, or we're good?
I'm just thinking, as I've been listening, and I think we have to identify what the root issues are, because I think this is linked to other things, and I'll get back to that in just a moment, but I also think we have to determine what's our larger goal and what are our shorter term goals. How are we gonna get to them? And what we're talking about really centers not on, so much on the speed of vehicles, it's on the safety aspect. And we've talked about safety regarding break-in enters and thefts and all of that stuff. And it could be a longer term goal for us to look at how we can move the needle on the issue of safety, whether it's road safety or personal safety we feel in our homes, or drug issues within our community, or what have you. And I think just like the fire study, where we're determining how we can best serve the community with fire coverage, maybe we need to have some form of policing study done and see about the feasibility of other options than what we're currently facing. And maybe things would be better if we had community policing here of a different structure. Maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. Maybe it's feasible, maybe it isn't. We don't know till we ask those kind of questions. But I think there are a lot of things that we've talked about that are kind of interrelated, and we just have to figure out how we can get from where we are now and stop chasing lag measures to start chasing lead measures that are gonna make a difference in our community.
I agree, a lot of it goes right back to our policing structure. We probably wouldn't be talking about it if that was changed or done differently or whatever, so. Yeah, no, I agree, so, any other short comments on those? Just have a few minutes left, see if anyone else has any other topics.
Hate to do it, but
Oh,
you
sure.
you were saying about the traffic engineering studies. Where is it? Just on your way into town, around Diamond Street or in that general area. Have you noticed where they put the center,
Yes.
What's it called?
The median or
the
whatever.
median? That came from one of those engineering studies.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
they've got a lot bigger population density and
Yeah.
a very busy road, a lot of traffic.
Mhm.
So do we have another, topic for new business this evening? Yes.
I do have one, and that is, I'm wondering if, as we look towards the future and trying to be strategic in how we do our work, if there's a way that we can determine what it is we as counselors and around the table, everybody involved, are gonna work on collectively so that we can determine our pieces of that work and where we're gonna go. Because sometimes our committee meetings kind of feel a lot like council meetings. And I'm wondering what the difference is sometimes in terms of where we're going. Because we talk about things, but it seems to vary a lot depending on week to week. Is there a way we can identify some things that we can collectively sink our teeth into and determine what we're gonna do and then regularly see progress on? I don't know, to me, that's kind of what a committee should do.
The best thing is to put the topics forward to our CAO before, the week before. Each counselor has the option to pick a topic and move it forward.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I would hope is that committee would be looking more towards the future and how do we get from our current state to there and continuously work on a few things so that we can say, this is what the committee accomplished over the last 6 months. Because sometimes I'm not clear, because it seems to vary a lot from week to week. That's all I'm saying. It's not a criticism, it's just, can we be more strategic, looking toward the future so that we can get more concrete things done?
Which means I'm more productive.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but right now we're in the midst of the planning and our strategic plan, and I think once those get maybe kicking in, we might have a little more foresight and maybe what we need for some of the structure.
Because I think some of what we've talked about over time are really things we could talk about in council chambers, not necessarily committee.
But we also have the option of if we think that something needs an action, we can move it from here to council under new business or put it on the agenda. So, I mean, we have to do that if there's an action to be done with the topic. So, okay. So we just got 5 minutes or so left, 5 or 6. So, any other quick topic?
I'd like to promote more recycling in my area. Did we hear anything on the boxes or anything, or did we just get the bags, the recycling boxes?
They're at the service commission, right? And you can pick them up.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fair on there.
I'd like to promote more recycling in my area so there'd be less trash going to the dump.
That's maybe something we have to educate people on, like to separate it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people they don't recycle, they just throw it in the trash. And we've chatted about that a little bit before, and I think Councillor Downing had a good point on that back a while ago, that maybe recycling should be done twice a month rather than actually be an option. And that's not in our hands neither, that's circular materials. So, but circular materials is also putting more packaging. They've come forth with more packaging because of the federal government regulations that they now have to recycle or promote the recycling of it. So there is more stuff to recycle. So maybe that's a movement that might help. Because I think you said when people's bins get full, they just throw in the trash.
After a month, you get a lot piling up around you.
Especially when your family size, depends on family size. Anyway, I don't think it's the end of the world even if they've done it twice a month, they pay for it, but I don't know how we drive that. Like I brought it up at Service Commission, and it didn't seem to go far from there, and, because they're kind of out of the recycling now too. It's all circular materials and social recycling in their hands, so yes.
Maybe to bring this all together, in the next newsletter that we put out, we can talk about agriculture on the roads, we could talk about circular materials again, and have like the contact information on where to find that information. Perhaps if we do get more people recycling and the volume goes up, maybe that will drive them to, come more frequently. That might be something too, so maybe those two issues, I guess, added into the next newsletter. That's the most concrete thing I can think of.
The more that
to
goes
put
into the
information out
landfill,
there.
the more it costs taxpayers.
Yeah.
So if they can reduce the landfill as much as possible, it's a reduction on their tax. So
Yeah.
we're down to 5 minutes, so if I could have an adjournment, motion for adjournment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Trevor, seconder. Councilor Brewer.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.